He was untouchable, a human wrecking ball in cleats. In 2014, DeMarco Murray didn't just run the football, he owned it. Defenders bounced off of him, records fell beneath him. Week after week, he punished the league with the kind of violent grace no one could match. He led the NFL in carries, yards, and broken spirits. He was the engine behind the Cowboys' revival and the heartbeat of their offense. Then, in what felt like a blink, he was gone. No torn ACL, no real significant injuries, no farewell tour, just silence. One season, he's Offensive Player of the Year. The next, a ghost. What could make the league's most dominant running back disappear at the height of his powers? Before he was stiff-arming NFL linebackers or rewriting the record books, DeMarco Murray was just a kid from Las Vegas with a fire most people couldn't see, but everyone on the field could feel. Growing up in a city better known for flashing lights than football greatness, Murray was shaped not by noise, but by structure. Raised by a hard-working single mother and surrounded by the distractions of Vegas, he stayed grounded through discipline, a strong sense of responsibility, and a relentless work ethic. At Bishop Gorman High School, a private Catholic powerhouse that would go on to become a national football factory, Murray became a local legend. In his senior year alone, he rushed for 1,947 yards and 27 touchdowns, leading his team to a 2005 state championship and earning Gatorade Player of the Year honors in Nevada. He wasn't just athletic, he was electric. Coaches raved about his patience, his vision, and his willingness to put in more film study than any other player on the roster. Even then, you could see it. This wasn't a kid chasing clout. He was building something special. Top college recruits came calling. USC, Miami, Texas, you name it. They were all offering brighter lights and bigger media markets. But Murray didn't take the bait. He chose Oklahoma. Why? Because the Sooners didn't just recruit stars. They built backs. Oklahoma's system emphasized power running and physicality. And it was where players earned every yard, not where they were just handed to them. And Murray didn't want it easy. He wanted excellence. The moment he hit the field in Norman, he made good on that promise. Though he redshirted his first year, he burst onto the scene in 2007 with a freshman campaign that included 15 touchdowns and multiple highlight reel plays. He wasn't just a rusher. He was a true three-down back. He caught passes, blocked blitzers, returned kicks, and became a threat anywhere on the field. But his rise didn't come without warning signs. Injuries, an ankle sprain, a dislocated kneecap, and nagging hamstring issues began to shadow his progress. And scouts, of course, took notice. Still, when he left Oklahoma, he had rewritten the school's record books. Murray became the all-time leader in touchdowns with 65, the all-time leader in all-purpose yards at 6,718, and receptions by a running back with 157. He was one of the most complete backs college football had ever seen. A quiet assassin with an NFL-level polish already baked into his game. And yet, doubts continued to linger. Could he stay healthy long enough to prove all of them wrong? By 2011, DeMarco Murray had done everything a top draft prospect was supposed to do. He crushed the college stat sheets at Oklahoma. He was their all-time leader in all-purpose yards, total touchdowns, and receptions by a running back. He passed the eye test, the production test, the versatility test. But there was one test he just couldn't shake, the durability one. As NFL scouts and front office dug into his history, that glowing resume was met with cautious whispers. His freshman and sophomore years had been electric, but sprinkled with injuries, a dislocated kneecap, hamstring pulls, and ankle tweaks. He'd missed time in 3 of his first 4 seasons. It didn't matter that he came back stronger. It didn't matter that he played through pain. In the unforgiving math of the NFL, availability is everything. And Murray had a question mark beside his name. So on draft night, as cameras scanned crowded living rooms and names flew off the board, Cam Newton, Von Miller, J.J. Watt, Murray waited. His time wasn't called in the first round or the second round. Running backs like Mark Ingram, Ryan Williams, Mikael LeSure got the nod before him. The silence was deafening. Then, finally, pick number 71, the third round, the Dallas Cowboys made the call. It was a moment filled with emotion. On one hand, disappointment. He wasn't selected as early as he'd earned. On the other, destiny. Going to the same team that built a dynasty behind Emmitt Smith. For Murray, it was enough. A shot was all he needed. He entered Dallas with no hype, no guaranteed role, and every intention to change the narrative. In the early weeks of his rookie season, he played sparingly behind Felix Jones and Tashard Choice. There was no big debut, no viral clip, just hard practices, quiet reps, and preparation, which is something he was all too familiar with. Then came week 7. The Cowboys were struggling. The Rams came visiting, and Felix Jones was out with an injury. It was Murray's turn. On his very first carry of the game, a simple off-tackle run, he found daylight, then more daylight, then nothing but open field. 91 yards to the house, the longest run in Cowboys history at the time. But Murray wasn't done. By the time the final whistle blew, he had racked up 253 yards on 25 carries. The most in a single game by a Dallas Cowboy running back, breaking a record set by none other than Emmitt Smith. That one game rewrote his future. Overnight, Murray had went from fragile third rounder to next great Cowboys back. Analysts who had doubted him all of a sudden now called him a breakout star. The locker room rallied around him. Dallas had found their spark. He finished his rookie year with 897 rushing yards and a 5.5 yard average per carry, all in just 13 games. But it wasn't just the numbers. It was how he ran. Tough, controlled, explosive, and with something to prove on every single down. The league had misjudged him, and DeMarco Murray never forgot it. DeMarco Murray didn't storm into NFL stardom. He earned it, yard by bruising yard. After his historic breakout game as a rookie in 2011, the Dallas Cowboys knew they had something special. But even with that promise, Murray's role in the offense wasn't immediately cemented. He spent the next couple of seasons fighting for every carry, splitting time, dealing with nagging injuries, and slowly prying the backfield away from veterans like Felix Jones. But every time he touched the ball, he made it harder to keep him on the sidelines. Murray wasn't flashy off the field. No diva tendencies, no media drama. He was all business, powerful, efficient, a one-cut runner with elite vision and underrated speed. He ran through arm tackles, shedded safeties, and kept his feet churning after contact. Behind the scenes, he was a film junkie, obsessed with preparations. Coaches loved him, teammates trusted him. By 2013, the transition was complete. Murray had become the Cowboys' undisputed lead back. That year, he rushed for 1,121 yards and 9 touchdowns, despite missing 2 games. A quiet preview of what was yet to come. Then came the historic 2014 season. From week 1, it was clear this was DeMarco Murray's offense. The Cowboys made a conscious decision to stop leaning on Tony Romo's arm and instead build the game plan around their dominant offensive line and a punishing ground game. And at the center of it all was number 29. Murray opened the season with 8 consecutive 100-yard rushing games, a new NFL record. Week after week, defenses knew exactly what was coming, and they still couldn't stop it. That's how you know you have something dominant. When they know it's coming, they plan for it, and they still can't stop it. The Cowboys' offensive line, featuring all pros like Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, and Travis Frederick, became a battering ram, and Murray was the blade behind it. He finished the season with a staggering 1,845 rushing yards on 392 carries, scoring 13 touchdowns. He led the NFL in every major rushing category, and unlike many feature backs, he stayed on the field in passing situations, adding 57 catches for 416 yards. His performance earned him NFL Offensive Player of the Year honors and a trip to the Pro Bowl, but his production came at a price. Each week, the punishment piled up. His hands bled from stiff arms. His legs ached from 30 carry games. He even broke his left hand late in the season and still played through it, logging 58 yards and a touchdown just days after surgery. The Cowboys relied on him like few teams have relied on any player. He wasn't just their best back. He was their identity. Behind the glory, the highlight reels, and the standing ovation was a man carrying more than a football. He was carrying a franchise, and it was starting to wear him down. Still, Murray never complained, never asked for fewer carries. He just ran. Every down, every week, every snap like it was his last. Coming off the greatest season of his life, DeMarco Murray should have been untouchable. He had just led the league in rushing, carried the Cowboys to a division title, and earned NFL Offensive Player of the Year honors. The expectation from fans, teammates, and Murray himself was simple. Dallas would take care of its star, but the NFL is rarely that sentimental. Behind closed doors, the Cowboys front office was doing a different kind of math. While Murray had racked up 392 carries, the highest single season total in over a decade, Dallas was preparing to invest elsewhere, specifically in their offensive line. Jerry Jones and his staff had made a philosophical decision: build around the blockers, not the back. They believed the line was the engine and any competent runner could benefit from it. The whispers began: let him walk. Murray wanted to stay. He had great chemistry with Tony Romo and Dez Bryant. He loved the locker room. He just delivered a once-in-a-generation season. But as free agency approached, he received silence from Dallas. No serious offer, no counter, just a void. So when another team came calling and offered big money, he took it. In March of 2015, DeMarco Murray signed a 5-year, $42 million contract with the Philadelphia Eagles, including $21 million guaranteed. On paper, it was a statement signing. The reigning rushing champ joining a division rival? The headlines literally wrote themselves, but inside football circles, eyebrows raised. Why? Because Philadelphia wasn't just a different team. It was a different philosophy. The head coach at the time, Chip Kelly, had overhauled the Eagles roster and introduced a breakneck offense that thrived in tempo, spread formations, and horizontal movement. It was designed for quick backs who excelled in space, often operating from the shotgun. Murray, a north-south punisher, was the exact opposite. He needed depth in the backfield, time to diagnose, and blockers pulling ahead of him. From the first snap, it was so obvious this wasn't a fit. The plays didn't suit his vision. The tempo disrupted his rhythm. The lanes he thrived in, deep inside zones with fullbacks leading the way, didn't exist in Kelly's system. By mid-season, the frustration was visible. Murray was getting fewer touches, often being pulled in critical moments for Ryan Matthews or Darren Sproles. His production plummeted. He finished the year with just 702 rushing yards on 3.6 yards per carry, over a 1,000-yard difference from the previous season. The lowest totals of his career, to be exact. The media speculated. Tension with coaches bubbled up, and at one point, reports surfaced that Murray had gone directly to team owner Jeffrey Lurie to express his concern about his role. Once the centerpiece of a playoff offense, Murray had become an expensive misfit. By the end of the season, it was clear the experiment had failed. Chip Kelly was fired. The Eagles were in disarray, and Murray's once ascendant career had hit a wall. And just 1 year into his 5-year deal, he was quietly traded away. By the time DeMarco Murray arrived in Tennessee, he was no longer viewed as a star. He was a cautionary tale, a bad fit, a once dominant player who had signed a massive contract, flopped, and been quietly dumped. The Eagles didn't even ask for a player in return, just a pick swap. That's how far his value had fallen. But Murray saw it differently. To him, it wasn't the end. It was a reset. The Tennessee Titans, coming off a dismal 3-13 season, were desperate for leadership. They had a young quarterback in Marcus Mariota, a new head coach in Mike Mularkey, and a new philosophy: exotic smash mouth. It was a run-heavy offense built around physicality and clock control, exactly the kind of scheme Murray once thrived in. For the first time since Dallas, he felt aligned with the system, and just like that, the fire came back. From the first carry of the 2016 season, you could see it. Murray ran hard, with purpose. He hit holes with authority, lowered his shoulders through contact, and looked like the player Philadelphia had erased from memory. He even showed burst in the passing game, catching swing passes and screens with the same ease he had in Oklahoma. By week 5, he had already surpassed his entire 2015 rushing total. Ultimately, he finished the season with 1,287 rushing yards, 377 receiving yards, and 12 total touchdowns, making his third Pro Bowl and helping the Titans to a 9-7 record, their first winning season in 5 years. He ranked third in the NFL in rushing, just ahead of rising stars like LaShawn McCoy and Devontae Freeman. More than the stats though, Murray became the locker room's backbone. He was the mentor to rookie Derrick Henry, a towering Heisman-winning running back who would one day become the NFL's most feared rusher. Murray took him under his wing, taught him how to study film, how to manage his body, how to carry himself like a pro. But while 2016 was a renaissance, 2017 brought a harsh reality. Murray began the season with lingering hamstring issues. He tried to play through them, but the explosiveness waned. His touches were reduced. His carries he shared with Henry and his production slipped. He still had his moments, including a memorable 75-yard touchdown run against Seattle, but he was clearly battling more than just defenders. By the season's end, Murray was dealing with a torn MCL, and the Titans, despite making the playoffs, benched him for the final stretch in favor of young Henry. After the season, they made it official. DeMarco Murray was released. No press conference, no drama, just a transaction notice. And just like that, a man who had once been the best running back in the NFL was once again without a team. But unlike before, Murray didn't hold on. He took one last look at the game and stepped away. After a decade of bruises, broken fingers, battered knees, and headlines, DeMarco Murray walked away from football the same way he entered it, quietly, without fanfare, and with something to prove only to himself. When the Titans released him in March of 2018, many assumed he'd sign somewhere else. He was only 30, not ancient by NFL standards. He had recently posted a 1,200-yard season. Teams called, depth charts shifted, injuries mounted during training camps and across the league. But Murray was done. He didn't bite. He didn't want to be a third-string insurance policy. He didn't want to chase one more check. He wasn't going to wait around for someone else's injury to give him another shot. He had already shown the world who he was, and he was done proving it. That July, on a quiet Friday morning, he appeared on ESPN's NFL Live and dropped the news himself. He said, "I've decided to retire." Calmly and without drama. No tears, no farewell tour, no media circus, just a man walking away on his own terms with his faculties intact. Murray retired with over 7,000 rushing yards, 49 total touchdowns, and 3 1,000-yard seasons. He had been a rushing champion, a Pro Bowler, a locker room leader, but more than any accolade, he had been respected by teammates, coaches, and opponents alike. And when the game no longer respected his body in return, he left with his head held high. But walking away from the field didn't mean walking away from the game. Months after announcing his retirement, Murray stepped into the world of broadcasting. He joined Fox Sports as a college football analyst, bringing the same poise and preparation to the studio that he once brought to the huddle. His insights were sharp, his demeanor cool. He didn't yell. He didn't chase viral sound bites. He educated. Still, the itch never quite left him. And in 2020, the game called him back, but not as a player, as a mentor. Murray returned to the University of Oklahoma, this time as a running backs coach. The stadium that once roared for his touchdowns now echoed with his voice at practice. He wasn't seeking glory anymore. He was building it in others. He poured his NFL experience into young backs. He taught them how to read blocks, how to recover, how to protect themselves in a league that rarely protects them, and most importantly, how to walk away with your dignity intact. Murray didn't disappear. He evolved. To the average fan, it seemed like DeMarco Murray simply disappeared. One minute he was stiff-arming defenders into the turf as the NFL's Offensive Player of the Year. The next, he was out of the league. No public breakdown, no catastrophic injury, just a quiet fade from the spotlight. But anyone paying close attention saw it coming. Murray's decline wasn't a dramatic clash. It was a slow, predictable slide written into the math of modern football. In 2014, he logged 392 carries in the regular season, more than any running back had taken in over a decade. Add in the playoffs, and that number climbed above 430 total touches. For any position, that's brutal. For a running back, though, it's a career-altering burden. History paints a clear picture when backs cross the 370 carry threshold. Their production almost always falls off a cliff. It happened to Larry Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, Jamal Anderson, Eddie George, even former NFL MVP Shaun Alexander. Murray became just the latest name added to a cruel but familiar list. That 2014 season didn't just showcase Murray's greatness, it cost him. But it wasn't just a physical toll. Murray's abrupt free agency departure from Dallas sent him to Philadelphia, a team that never built around his strengths. Chip Kelly's up-tempo spread offense pulled Murray out of the I-formation comfort zone he dominated in. Instead of running behind a fullback, he was handed the ball laterally from the shotgun. It clashed with his entire playstyle. He's a north-south one-cut runner trying to navigate sideways chaos. The results were disastrous. His stats collapsed. His confidence eroded, and with each missed hole, the league's patience wore thinner. But deeper than playbook and touches, Murray's fall revealed a brutal NFL reality. Running backs don't get grace. Not anymore. They are the most replaceable, yet insanely important position in the league. Draft classes pump out fresh legs every year. Rookie deals are cheap. Contract extensions are rare. And once a back hit the age of 28, he's already labeled as washed, regardless of actual production. Murray had done everything right. He led by example, played through pain, stayed out of the headlines, delivered in the biggest moments. But it didn't matter. The system wasn't built to reward loyalty or production. It was built to replace backs the moment they cost more than they're worth. That's why Murray's story feels similar, and it still stings. He didn't vanish. The league moved on. DeMarco Murray's career didn't burn out. It closed like a chapter that knew exactly how it wanted to end. There was no circus, no dramatic final act, no retirement tour. He stepped away with clarity, something few athletes ever get in the cutthroat world of the NFL. Most players are pushed out. Murray, he walked out with dignity on his terms. And while he may have not had the longest career, what he did with the time he had was unforgettable. For that one season, that 2014 season, he wasn't just another back. He was the back. He pushed defenders, set records, and carried an entire franchise on his shoulders. He didn't just have big games. He put together a stretch of dominance that etched his name into history. 8 straight 100-yard games to start the season. Nearly 2,000 rushing yards. He was at the heart of Dallas resurgence and the center of every defensive coordinator's nightmare. His excellence wasn't just statistical. It was undeniable, the kind of greatness you can feel every Sunday. But his story became something more than highlight reels and accolades. It became a mirror reflecting how the NFL treats its running backs. Murray's rise was as explosive as his decline was clinical. There was no scandal, no laziness, no dropping commitment. He simply became a product of a system that doesn't reward loyalty or durability. It punishes it. He ran too hard, carried too much, and became too expensive for a business built to replace, not reward. He wasn't alone. Countless elite running backs have suffered the same fate, discarded the moment their production couldn't outpace their price tag. Murray just happened to be one of the most glaring examples. And yet, what sets him apart is what came after. He didn't beg for one more shot. He didn't chase a ring or sit by the phone waiting for an injury to open up a roster spot. He pivoted. He evolved. Where many players struggle to find identity after football, Murray found purpose. He returned to the place where his legend began, Oklahoma, not to chase nostalgia, but to build something new. As a coach, he poured the wisdom from his bruising Sundays into the next generation. He didn't just teach technique, he taught survival. How to last in a game that doesn't love you back. How to prepare for life after the roar from the crowd fades. That's a different kind of legacy, not measured by Bus and Canton or Lifetime Achievement Awards, but by impact. In the players he mentors, in the quiet example he sets, you can walk away on your own terms, with your own health and your pride. He showed that you don't need to cling to the spotlight to prove your worth. DeMarco Murray may have not played long enough to rewrite every single record book, but for a time, he redefined what dominance looked like. And when the moment passed, he chose a path few do. He moved forward, not backward. That's why his career, though shortened, remains unforgettable. He didn't vanish, he changed. And for that one incredible season, he was the best in the world. DeMarco Murray's story doesn't end in the Hall of Fame, but in something far more human, acceptance, not of failure, but of completion. He lived the arc that every athlete dreams of, but few survive. He rose, he ruled, and then he walked away before the game could take more than he was willing to give. There was no dramatic fall, no public plea for one last shot, no slow fade through injury-riddled seasons in someone else's jersey. He didn't hang around long enough to become a role player in his own story. He recognized when the chapter was over and closed the book with grace. That takes strength. In a league where players are often defined by how long they can last, Murray defined himself by how well he played and how wisely he left. He wasn't chasing the game. He had already caught it, tamed it, and left it with something to remember him by. You don't need a busting can to leave behind a legacy. Sometimes, the most enduring impact is found in the choices made away from the spotlight, in the integrity of a quiet exit, the humility of reinvention, the courage to start over without applause. Today, Murray's legacy lives in the players he coaches, in the way they prepare, the way they run, the way they carry themselves when no one's watching. He's not just teaching them how to succeed, he's teaching them how to end well, a lesson far more rare in a game that often forgets its heroes as quickly as it builds them. So if you're looking for a fairy tale, you're not going to find it here. What you'll find is something more honest. A man who gave the game everything he had, and when it was time, didn't ask for more. He left with his head held high, his body intact, and his dignity untouched. And for one unforgettable season, DeMarco Murray was exactly what every kid dreams of becoming, the best in the world. That will never vanish.